so many people die without actually realizing their full potential. People died with business ideas, with books, with gifts, with vocational aspirations that they never dared to pursue because of maybe fear or circumstances or whatever, and never got healing from traumas. And so they just lived, and I thought, man, I don't want to be like that.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Dr. Peter Rios on the show. He's a speaker, coach, and consultant. He's spoken with numerous organizations and universities across the country, including Harvard University. His message at his speaking engagements is all about maximizing your potential. He has such an inspiring story, coming from humble beginnings, struggling in academics, to going on to finally getting 2 PhDs. He has just such an incredible story and message of persistence. I think you're going to love the interview. So without further ado, please welcome Dr. Peter Rios. Okay, welcome to the podcast, Dr. Peter Rios. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Michael. Thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you on the show. You have such an inspiring story, just an incredible journey. And the word that comes to mind for me is relentless. I don't know, that's the word that comes to mind, because a number of stories in your book, your new book, Maximize, talk about that just sort of relentless pursuit of your maximum potential. So I want to start out today by just maybe tell us a little bit about your background, where you came from, and kind of how you started your journey of maximizing your potential.
Thank you, Michael. Well, today I find myself, you're interviewing me because I have some level of success, of coaching, consulting, speaking internationally, and as an author, which is all cool. It's great. But my journey definitely hasn't been linear. It hasn't been just straight to where I'm at now. I mean, I grew up in New York, and I was born in the Bronx, but grew up upstate New York, Western New York, outside a small town called Dunkirk, actually, outside of Buffalo. I grew up in public housing, so in the projects, very, lower socioeconomic status, so to say. My grandmother raised me. She had a 4th grade education. Her name was Lourdes. And, my mom and dad weren't around in the beginning. So, as you can imagine, any kid like that growing up in that type of context, I think naturally, well, at least for me, I grew up kind of, feeling some level of abandonment, of neglect. And then, always thinking that something was wrong with me because, my parents weren't around, and also just seeing kids, at school getting dropped off in these really nice cars. And I'm like, I have to walk in snowstorms. I'm like, what's going on here, But, part of life, that was helping me to, as you said, being resilient or relentless. I think that was the beginning of that journey of having to make a decision, will I just be sorry for myself and just stay in that? And to be honest, I did that for a while. That's natural. That's, there's no effort in that. But then I just, came a point in my life where I was like, yeah, I need to take, some level of control and responsibility for my life. And just started to get help, reached out for help, mentors and things I write about in my book that no one is successful alone. And so just that journey, of growing, of learning, of not quitting, of not, settling for less. And I think if, your listeners today, they're listening to us, don't settle for less. There's always something more, something greater, something better that you can achieve and do. And so that's kind of like my story of like overcoming, trying to grow, and now just trying to help anyone who, would like to get to where I'm at or even better, to help them to do that. Because I think that as we become better, as we maximize our lives, then this world can be a better place. So
yeah, I love that. So it's like you can have every reason in the world to say, this is tougher for me because I have a lower income, or it's tougher for me because my parents aren't present. And you'd be right, you'd be correct, right? Or you can take maybe that more difficult at first path steer in a different direction and go, you know what? Like I wanna push myself, despite these conditions that I didn't have really any control over. I'm going to make a decision to maximize, and that's what you did. And in your book, Maximize, you share this story of basketball. And I want there's a great video. Maybe I can leave it in the description here, of you telling that story of how you tried out for basketball in seventh grade, eighth grade,
Yeah.
ninth grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, and
Yeah.
at each and you were really working hard at it too.
Yeah.
And right. And so each step of that journey, there was some sort of like a roadblock. And a couple times it sounds like the coach didn't really want you on the team because like, oh, well, he's a lower economic status. Like and there's also that story in the book too of where you had some marijuana in your locker, I think as a
Yeah. Yeah.
freshman. And so,
I was ahead of my time, now it's legal.
right, right. But it's things like that where like maybe there is this sort of gatekeeper or like the coach. Yeah, we don't want that kid on our
Yeah.
team. It sounds
Right.
like we're really working hard and show determination. And and again, that's another point where you can say, well, it's not fair.
Right.
I'm going to be angry. I'm going to be bitter. I'm not going to try hard. I'll show them by maybe not trying hard. Like sometimes that can be a mentality of especially a kid. Like that's pretty discouraging as a kid
Mhm.
to be kind of roadblocked like that. But you decided in a different direction. Like I'm going to keep going. And so I'm sort of no, surmising or
Yeah.
summarizing your story here, the basketball player.
Great.
I think people should go online and watch the story. It's
Yeah.
a great story. But then you do finally play on a really good basketball team, and that's in the Marine Corps. And
Right.
so, like that, I mean, for what, 6 years, you're getting blocked from getting on a basketball team, and you love basketball because this is like,
Yeah. Love it.
Michael Jordan was your hero, right? Because I was
Yeah.
that time was following the Bulls too. And as you said, Michael Jordan got cut from his freshman team, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, and thank you for summarizing that. I mean, if you think about it, most people who have had a certain level of success or achievement, most people have had to go through that cutting or that pruning or that trial or tribulation or obstacles, because it's rare. Just this, today, unfortunately, with social media, we have all these different narratives that you can just become something or someone or success, overnight, and that microwave or like that magical approach really isn't realistic. I know that there's a few, but there's what, 8 billion plus people on earth. And so you can't, do the math. It's never going to get to you. I think that obviously hard work pays off. And I think that in my story, just like in growing up, I don't want to minimize that there are inequities in society, that there are some systemic issues that we have. Those things are real and we have to keep and, work on those, address those, right? At the same time, I think that what I was doing was I believed, I'm supposed to be on this team. Like I am good. I'm better than half this team. And there was this other side of me, people knew that I was hustling, back then. I was always an entrepreneur. Only thing back then I was putting my energy in the wrong places and
Right.
negatively. But now, with some maturity and growth and, education and all these things, exposure that I speak about and maximize, I'm now channeling that energy in the right direction. And I think that that's sometimes what we need, even as an adult. Sometimes we need to unlearn or relearn things and help and have someone else who's doing what we would like to do or what we would like to achieve to help us. And so I really believe you have to believe in yourself before others will believe. If you're in business, we know this well. Like you have to, provide that seed money. Sometimes you have to bootstrap your own business because venture capitalists or angel investors, they're not going to invest anything unless you have some skin in the game, right? You've seen that on Shark Tank and all these other things. So I think that's the message today, like, do you believe in yourself enough for that vision or the dream that you have, that business concept or whatever it is? Maybe you just want a better relationship. to invest in it fully. And I think that as you work in it, as you invest in it, as you develop it, something good will happen. And like you said, Michael, I ended up making the team in the Marine Corps. And that was actually the team I thought there's no way. I mean, these guys are like amazing, and but it was almost like that Notre Dame story with Rudy. Like the coach said, hey, I saw you work hard, and I thought we needed that energy. And I just thought, man, that is amazing. And that for me, that was like, it was like God heard my cry, of like, I want to be on a team. I want to play in organized sports. And so yeah, don't give up. If you're listening to us and you're like struggling, maybe you've gotten cut, maybe they've told you your business idea stinks, maybe you haven't gotten the funding, the bank doesn't believe in you, whatever. That's their opinion. It shouldn't matter. Just keep pressing, keep pushing, keep knocking on those doors, because someone will eventually believe in you. So
Yeah, no, that's true. If you just keep going forward, keep knocking on those doors, like you say, eventually someone's going to open a door and they're going to answer, and they're going to see your basically your vibe, your determination, your energy. And it sounds like that's what happened in the Marine Corps. It's like, hey, this guy, he's quick. He's really, he's passionate about that. So it's just really just a matter of time. Like you said, there's 8 billion people on the planet. If you believe in yourself and you keep pushing forward, eventually you're going to start meeting the people that you resonate with. And you also said like you have to believe in yourself before other people do. But I want to ask you though, what about I think in your book there's this Dr. Denoya,
yes, my
who
angel.
really advocated for you. And so in a way, like sometimes there are people who enter our lives that believe in us, maybe if we don't believe in ourselves, so like there's sometimes there's that intervention of that mentor
Yes.
that just like pops up in our life. So maybe you can tell me a little bit about Dr. Denoya.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I actually spoke with her yesterday. She's been my lifelong mentor, like my adopted mother. I met her, I was in 10th grade in my social studies class, and they had this person come in to talk to us about the Upward Bound program in SUNY Fredonia, New York. And I'm like, here's another person coming to the hood to sell us some dreams. And but needless to say, I didn't know that she would be an instrument that would change my life. I eventually went to Upper Bound, and she, began to mentor me, and I began to see. She began to expose me to universities, to just a different way of thinking, and so the whole mindset, going from a fixed mindset, like things can't change, this is the way it is, to a growth mindset, like you have the opportunity to do something better, to do something amazing. You have greatness within you, and so she's probably one of the first people that I ever heard speak to me like that, or someone who actually had gotten out of the fishbowl. You read my book, you'll understand that language. And so she basically, poured into me, even when I got caught with, the drugs in school. I was arrested and everything. They expelled me for a whole year. They did not want me to go back to the school system. She advocated for me. She was like my lawyer. We met with the superintendent, with the police officers, everyone. And, through the law, and even through educational law, and these other things, argue with them that they could not do that. In fact, they had to support me through school. And so, somebody like that who believes in you is so important. So yeah, definitely you got to believe in yourself, but it's also amazing, a gift, I would say. And that's why I call her my angel, because she definitely intervened, especially at a younger age, right? When you're so vulnerable.
Yeah.
And but until today, she's always been there. She's a business partner, she's a friend, like I said, adopted mom. And I think that she didn't just do that with me. So that's, people who are listening, maybe you're doing well, but you want to mentor others, will do it. You never know where those people can go, or what they can achieve. I mean, she's done it with hundreds of people, and just to go, just shows her leadership, her servant leadership of empowering people, of helping people, of helping communities that are, hurting or in need. And so part my relationship with her has actually helped me, empowered me to pursue my calling, which, now I'm helping people also. So
Funny how that works, right? So if someone
right.
comes into your life, helps you, then inspires you to do the same. That's amazing. Um, yeah, I really I love mentors that show up, and you know what you're doing now is that you're actively mentoring people too, like through your coaching, and it's you know you're doing it on a level that helps a lot of people as well. I want to
Let me
ask, yeah, sorry,
Hey,
go ahead.
Michael, let me just say something else. Like it's easy to mentor someone if they're all fixed up, cleaned up,
Uh-huh.
walking, they got it going on, right?
Right.
But Dr. Denoya found me as a dysfunctional child, as a troubled youth, so to say,
Yeah.
as someone who was hustling, on the streets, had some addictions, who was having a lot of issues and conflict and trauma.
Uh-huh.
And she has walked with me. And so that deserves, like, man, I every time I talk with her, I just thank her. Because to mentor someone who, again, who's all clean, fixed up, they have so much potential.
Yeah.
That's not to say it's easy, but it's doable.
Yeah.
However, you meet someone and they're just like a mess,
Mm.
and you're scratching your head like, yeah, I really want to take this on. And so for people like that, also that don't limit yourself with who you're mentoring, because you never know, you might be finding a diamond in the rough. So
Right. Right. That's amazing because she took that risk, and with a lot of other people too, apparently. Of
yeah,
like, yeah, I'm gonna see if this kid is gonna step up, and I'm gonna be the person that advocates. And apparently, it turned out pretty well for you. So,
yeah,
yeah, you do thank her a lot. That's a great story. I'm also interested in your community college kind of struggles and stumbles because we are talking before the podcast here. I
yeah,
went to community college also.
I
I started
know,
college late, in my mid 20s, and failed a couple of community college classes.
right.
I was like an identity issue. Am I actually a student? Can I
Mhm.
do this? Um, but I persevered, and you had a similar story. So maybe tell us a little bit about that academia route where you started in
Right.
it. Now you have two doctoral degrees. So, but yeah, a little bit of that story.
Yeah, that's great. And congratulations to you for pushing through and end up going to UC Berkeley. That's amazing. My book Maximize was actually, the original title was From the Projects to Harvard,
Hmm.
7 Steps to Maximizing Your Greatest Potential. But through writing it and editing and stuff, we decided to modify and change it. We even thought from the projects to the PhD, and really, like, again, like, my journey hasn't been linear. Some people hear me today, oh, you have 2 doctoral degrees. Wow, you must be so intelligent. You must be so smart. I'm like, well, I don't really consider myself like that. I just think that as I was pushing through, as I was like not quitting or giving up, I just began to get more hungry and to see the opportunities and the doors that would open if I kept advancing. And so I failed community college 3 times. Like, I failed out. Like, my first time at community college, I think my GPA was like a 1.9 or something like that, 1.5. I was on probation. Then I was in the Marine Corps. That was before going to the Marines. And in the Marines, I tried to go to community college. Just didn't work, just busy serving in the military. And it was just so difficult for me. I got out the Marine Corps, and I came out as an alcoholic, to be honest, and just struggling in that area. And I just couldn't concentrate, and I flunked out again. And then it wasn't until I had, this encounter, that I really said, and thought I really need to get serious about this. And I started to study religious studies, because I wanted to, see. My grandmother raised me in the faith, right, in the Christian religion, but to me, it was just a religion until that point. And then when I had this encounter with, what I would say, with God, with the divine, with the higher power, I start to see life differently. Like, I have a purpose, I have a calling. There's a mission that I need to fulfill on earth, and like I've said before, it's to empower people, to help people to get to the next level, to maximize their lives. And so school helped me. That was like my tutor, and I began to study, and I still, I wasn't doing like amazingly great. I got C's and B's, and then in my master's I got more A's, and then until getting 2 doctoral degrees. So it's possible. I don't know what you or your listeners are thinking or going through at this point in life, maybe you are an adult, you'd like to return to school. That's what I did. I went back to school. I was like 28 years old, and I all through my 30s, to early 40s, been in school. So it's possible. There nothing is impossible. I think that the issue becomes that sometimes we just give up. It's easy to give up. It's very difficult to press forward, to keep on, to keep fighting, and again, getting that help, So yeah, I'm not sure if that helps you, Michael, but that's what happened.
That's great. So you had this we'll call like a faith encounter or
Yeah.
something that that really kind of changed you. You said like now I feel like I have a mission, like a purpose to serve. So
Yeah.
it's less about you and more about, well, I have this duty or this mission. And in the coaching I do with executives, entrepreneurs, athletes, I have them write a mission statement.
Oh,
And
that's good.
rarely do people do that, especially athletes. And so that it becomes less about you, less pressure on yourself, and much more about how can I serve other people, or here's my duty to serve other
Yeah.
people. And when you
Right.
do that, you feel more connected to other people. It's
Hmm.
it's less ups and downs. Like if you have a downturn, you say to yourself, okay, I'm in a downturn right now, but I have to serve these people. Like this is my job, and it can get you out of those funks and low times a lot quicker. So you realize you had this mission to maybe to tell your story, to serve other people. And would you say that that was it, like this sort of this faith encounter where you're like, oh, I have a mission or a purpose? Did that really push you in the right direction?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can't deny that. And not to be preachy or come off, some way or another with listeners. But that really transformed my life because before then I was just living and seeing let's see what happens,
Mm.
let me see where I can get my whatever from this week, or just going to jobs, I need a job because I need to make some money. Or now it's like, my seeing life, and like in business, we talk about target market, right? Like you need to have a target, you need to have goals, you need to have some benchmarks. And so that faith encounter really transformed my thinking to like, I'm not just anybody, I have a mission. I have gifts and talents that I need to unleash and serve humanity with, right? And it reminds me of a great story that I once heard Miles Monroe say. Miles Monroe was from the Bahamas, and he would say that the richest place on earth was a cemetery. And I'm like,
Mm.
what? Like the cemetery? He's like, yeah, because so many people die without actually realizing their full potential.
Mm.
People died with business ideas, with books, with gifts, with vocational aspirations that they never dared to pursue because of maybe fear or circumstances or whatever, and never got healing from traumas. And so they just lived, and I thought, man, I don't want to be like that. I want to die empty. I want to die having given all of myself, served, humanity, blessed my generation. And I think that's a different mindset when you have that type of mindset. And, however you get there, that's, up to you. But the mindset of you are not just anybody, you are gifted, you are talented. That video you saw of Joey, the title is Destined for Greatness. You are destined for greatness. And when you understand that, the human beings, we're so complicated. We're complicated beings, humans, creatures. And so your full potential to do something amazing on earth. And so we're waiting for you, right? We're waiting for
Mm.
you to realize that, to maximize that. Who knows where you can be, who you can bless, what you can achieve if you go full speed ahead on that. So that's the story, Michael, and that's my encouragement to others.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. It's like we're all here for a reason. Like the odds of you actually existing, you know, on the grand scheme of things and the cosmos and all the
Right.
galaxies and everything, and that you are actually in this vessel in this human form,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that, there could be a reason why you're here, right? So
Yeah.
Like, so what you're saying is like everyone has a unique gift. Everyone has something that they need to share, right? And you, even if you don't know what that is, there is something. There is
Yep.
something. And you can start to have that curiosity about, well, what is it that I need to share? So that's a great philosophy, I think. And yeah, it makes me think about do you know who Dr. Wayne Dyer is?
Yeah, I've heard of Dr.
Yeah,
Dyer.
he
Yeah.
had he had a similar quote to Miles Monroe. He's like, don't die with the music still in you,
Yeah.
right? And he was talking about like, yeah, like just think if like Beethoven said like, or any great musician said, you know what, it's a little too hard. I don't know what people will think of it, right? And then that die with the music still in you. So I think everyone has something to share and gift to the world,
Yep.
and just having the courage to start that journey, even if you don't know what it is, or even if you don't totally believe in yourself. Like if you
Mhm.
start that journey, like we're talking earlier, and start knocking on doors, a door someone's going to answer, and
Yep.
going to be a good connection, and you're going to be able to share your gift. Um, so in your book, Maximize, you talk about 12 keys, right? So
Yes.
um,
12 keys to unlocking your greatest potential.
yes, yes. What just choose one, just any one of those keys. And maybe there's one that's like most important, I don't know. But
Yeah.
like tell us about one of those keys.
That's great. You know, I think depending on the day you catch me, I might say this one is more important than that one, but I think this more, today what I'd like to share is the key of exposure. It's hard to believe that there's something better or greater if you've never been exposed to it.
Right.
And that was in part my experience with Dr. Denoya. She was like, what you're thinking, how you're thinking, this welfare mentality, this slavery mentality, this very limited thinking, fixed mindset
Yeah.
is not all there is in life. And she confronted me, and I'm like, yes, it is. And you don't know, and you don't know. She's like, and so as I began to hang out with her and people like her a little bit more, I began to see that there is a lot more that I didn't even know existed. And so I think that people need to get exposed, and I know you've done, I think, some therapy and stuff, and they call it exposure therapy, right? Where
Yep.
maybe you have fear to something, well, but you get exposed to it little by little. And so I've done this with food, so you can do it with food, right? Sometimes you're scared of food, or you've never experienced different types of ethnic foods, and so you try that. Maybe you've never left your city. Maybe you've been in your city the whole time. Maybe you've never flown a plane, or you've never been on a bus, whatever the case. Try it little by little. And what happens is that you begin to expand, right? Like what Albert Einstein said, that once your brain gets an idea, it never returns to its original form. You're expanding your brain, your thinking becomes a little bit more elevated, and you can see better.
Yeah.
And so that's what exposure brings, exposure to different cultures, exposure to different countries. And for me, when I was in the Marines, I my first duty station was Okinawa, Japan. We'll talk about a
Yeah.
culture shock. Signs are not in English. Everything's in Japanese, obviously. And so I was in Korea. You had to drive on the left side of the road. And I'm like, how am I going to do that? I may get in an accident. And as I look back, I'm like, that's amazing that I had those opportunities because, now I'm looking for like the next thing. And as an entrepreneur, that's something that we all strive to, what's the next project or the next, way to make an impact or influence. And so, yeah, I would say exposure, Michael. You got to be exposed. You got to get out of your traditions. Sometimes people have never spent time with anyone that isn't in their own cultural or ethnic group. You got to get out. Sometimes people have never been with others from different religions. You got to get exposed to other religions and other people, other ideologies, philosophies. Sometimes people won't hang out with you if you don't vote like them. Come on. So all of these things, the diversity of the global world that we live in, I think it's a great opportunity for us to learn, unlearn, and relearn.
I love that. Yeah, you have to expose yourself to just different situations, different people, different cultures. And sometimes, like you said, people can come into your life like Dr. Denoyan, like, oh my God, I didn't even know this whole way of thinking existed. And then sometimes you can, just push yourself out of your comfort zone, like do things regularly that scare you in a good way. Like making a connection with someone, or asking to speak on a bigger stage than you think you can do, or whatever it
Yeah.
is, or trying out for a basketball team. Like
Yeah.
you gotta expose yourself to some of that scary stuff that forces you to grow, I think.
Yeah. I reminded of this quote, there's no growth in a comfort zone. You're
Right.
always going to be uncomfortable if you want to grow. And that's the whole idea of getting out of our little nest, of getting out of our comfort zones, our fixed thinking.
Hmm?
We need to grow, have a different mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Dr. Peter Rios, I think we're gonna wrap things up for today. I want to ask you where people can find out more about the work that you do, and your consulting and your coaching and your public speaking.
Yeah, thank you, Michael, for having me, and thank you all for listening. You can visit my website at www.peterriosconsulting.com, or you can follow me as well on social media, where on most of the outlets. It's at Dr. Dr. Peter Rios, so at Dr. Peter Rios, and there you'll find me. I'd love to connect with you and hear more about where you're at and how we could potentially help you to maximize your potential.
Awesome. I love it. And everyone check out his book, Maximize. I think it's on Amazon, Dr. Peter Rios.
Yes.
And I just started reading it, so I'm going to order mine and
Oh,
check it out because there's so many great stories in there.
thank
Um,
you.
yeah, Peter, it's been great talking with you today. And everyone else listening out there, thanks for watching, listening, wherever you're hearing this. Everyone keep on leveling up.